You know, I got this same thing always right there. All right, Shalom, everybody. All right, so before we get started, we're going to face the east. I think it's about this way. Call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for bringing us this truth. Honor to the brothers that's pushing this truth, risking their life, sacrificing their time, energy, and freedom to do so. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of our people who's going to return back to the Lord so that he will have mercy on them in his time of judgment, while the remaining 2/3 of our people be destroyed in judgment for not returning back to the Lord, who is Yahweh Shai. Now, Saturday, we went in depth in Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, and showed how we as a people, our greatest sin was our spiritual fornication, serving other gods, going after the traditions and ways and religions and doctrines of other people. Now we continue through the book of Ezekiel, and there was something I saw in the 23rd chapter that I want to try to find real quick. All right, so yeah, Ezekiel 23, you're going to hit verse 30, then we're going to hit verse 45. Now, 23 also goes along the lines with Ezekiel 30, with Ezekiel 16. The Lord calling us an adulterous woman, how we passed our sons and daughters that the Lord gave us. We passed them through the fire. The Lord blessed us with all this stuff. He gave it to the other people. He gave it to these other false gods, worship these other deities, these nobodies, and we did it all for free. The Lord said that we was worse off than a harlot, because at least the harlot get paid for her services. He said we whore for free. We did all that whoring with all these other deities and fake gods and got nothing in return. So Ezekiel 23 and 45, it talks about the judgment. Because I think that's one thing it didn't talk about in Ezekiel 16. But verse 30 reads, I will do these things unto thee, because thou hast gone a whoring after the heathen. Yeah, because we went whoring after the heathen, seeking their ways, seeking their religions, seeking their gods, seeking their doctrines. And we got no benefit from that. The more that we went whoring after the heathen, the further and further that we got from the Lord. And the more and more that the heathen took from us. Because the Lord blessed us with goods, riches, food, diamonds, jewelry, gold and silver. And the heathen took all that stuff from us. But really, we gave it all away. So let's continue. I will do all these things unto thee. And that was the judgments that the Lord had just stated before, which we're going to sort of get them at 45, in summary. I will do all these things unto thee, because thou hast gone whoring after the heathen, and because thou art polluted with their idols. Yeah, we polluted with their idols. It's like if a woman cheat on her husband with all these other men, that man gonna tell her, hey, you polluted with their semen. You polluted with their DNA and polluted with their bodily fluids. So the man ain't gonna want his woman no more. Same thing with the Lord. We got polluted with the idols or the false gods and deities that we was going after. Now when we hit Isaiah I'm sorry, Ezekiel 23:45, it reads, "And the righteous man, they shall judge them after the manner of adulteresses, and after the manner of a woman that shed blood, because they are adulteresses, and blood is in their hand." So the Lord's judgment, He's going to judge us as an adulteress. And adulteress in the ancient world, what was her punishment? It was death. If she got caught cheating on her husband, she automatically got put to death. It may be hanging, being stoned, being decapitated, but that was a death sentence. So the Lord said He's going to be judged in the manner of an adulteress. So that's instant execution for our people. That's a death sentence. And He said we're going to be judged as the manner of one that sheds blood. What does the Bible say? An eye for an eye. You shed blood, your blood will be shed. How do we shed our blood? We was killing our sons and daughters, or if we had elderly people in our family, or people that was handicaps, we was sacrificing them in the fire to Molech and Balaam, or whatever the hell their name is. And so that's why we got blood on our hand. And then not to mention, men probably killing each other. Then what else was we doing? We gonna be judged as a witch would be judged. Now the Bible tell you that a witch has to be burned. She has to be burned. That's another death sentence. And how else is the Lord gonna judge us? He's gonna judge us like let me see. Yeah, I think that the main thing, the Lord is gonna judge us as an adulteress, as a murderer, and as a witch. And all three of those is a death sentence, execution. So let me read the rest of this verse. And the righteous man, they shall judge them after the manner of an adulteress, and after the manner of a woman that shed blood. We're also going to be judged after the manner of a witch too, because we was practicing wizardry and sorcery and black magic and all this other dark stuff, dark spiritual stuff. So we're gonna be judged as a witch too. And what happened to our people? We got burned on hanging on a tree, just like the witches got burned. They burnt us alive. They hung us, just like they would have done in adulteress. They stoned us. We got decapitated. We got put to death many number of ways. Because the Lord said He'll send a sword after us. Then how does a person that shed blood gets their blood shed? They get killed in the same way. So, and also the Lord tells you that He repays double according to your works. So our works is full of wickedness and abominations against the Lord. So the Lord He repaid us double for our sins. So for us being judged as an adulteress, as a witch, and as a murderer, we got double for that. That's why we got hung so many times, shot dead in the streets, decapitated, burned, stoned, killed by the sword, killed by starvation, killed by our oppressors. That's why we got killed probably billions of times, so many number of ways. That's the Lord repaying us double. Because every single sin that we committed, we suffered a death for it. So we probably sinned billions of times. And guess what? The Lord killed us billions of times. So for each time we idol worshipped, the Lord killed one of our people. Each time we did spiritual fornication, the Lord killed one of our people. That's why we suffer so many deaths as a people. That's the Lord repaying us for our sins. And guess what? We only at the halfway mark for our sins. Because the Lord tells us He's going to repay us double. And like I said Saturday, if you take everything that we've been through the last 500 years, we got more behind us. No, I'm sorry. We still got more in front of us than behind us. And what I mean by that is we still got way more suffering and death to take as a people than we've been through already. And this other half is going to come quickly through Jacob's trouble. And how the Lord taking out his fury and anger on us up until this point will be Deuteronomy the 28th chapter. So all those curses of Deuteronomy, that's the Lord repaying us double for our sins. But right now, the Lord is only even with us. He not done getting his lick against us. So we got to get the other half of our judgment. So that other half is going to be Jacob's trouble. And, the Lord been repaying us for 400 or 500 years. He's not going to repay us for another 400 or 500 years. We're going to get the other half of this judgment in Jacob's trouble. So everything that we suffered in 400 or 500 years, we're going to get it all at once in just a matter of days. Maybe a matter of weeks, a matter of months. But the point is, the Lord is going to take all that suffering and torment and death and destruction of our people from the last 400 or 500 years. He's going to condense it to a couple weeks, and that's Jacob's trouble. So we're going to watch our numbers fall by the millions every day. So again, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, those curses, that's just the Lord getting even with us. The second part of our judgment, Jacob's trouble, is going to be the Lord making a point. Because remember, He's going to pay us double. So yeah, right now we only about even. So now the Lord is going to have to take it a step further. And that's Jacob's trouble. That's why when we go to, we're going to skip that. I'm going to hit Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. Because now that we at the halfway point of our judgment as a people for the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you could say like in Ezekiel 8, the Lord, Yahawadah was showing Ezekiel the abominations of our people. All the idol worship, spiritual fornication, being an adulteress, worshiping these false gods. And after that, that's when the judgment of Jacob's trouble kicked off. And that would be Ezekiel 9. It's not called it there, but that's what it is. And that's why we're going to read Ezekiel 8. We're going to hit 1 Peter, Jeremiah, then Ezekiel 9. So let's get Ezekiel 8 real quick. Because like the Lord said, in Ezekiel 16, it says, show Jerusalem her abominations. So we got to show our people where we went off at. Now, we're going to jump into Ezekiel 8. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in my house, the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness as the color of amber. And he put down the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of Yahweh to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. Because not only do we do spiritual fornication, we do spiritual fornication and idol worship in the temple. We wasn't adulterous in the temple, in the house of the Lord. That's like, and that's like Ezekiel 16. The Lord told us we did fornication with our neighbors, with our enemies, with everybody around us. Not only that, we did fornication in the Lord's house, in the temple. So that's like a woman sleeping with everybody down the street, up the block, and around the corner. And not only that, she cheated on her husband in his own house. So that's what we did as a people, idol worshiping in the temple of the Lord. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thy eyes toward the north. So I lifted my eyes toward the north, and behold, the northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. What's that image of jealousy? That's an idol. An idol, a false god, something that we worshiping in the temple. They could be anything. He said, furthermore, unto me, son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far from my sanctuary? So yeah, because the Lord departed from us, but he still remained at the sanctuary. Just like if a woman is cheating on her husband, hey, the woman gonna keep his distance, but the man gonna stay at home. That's their house together. He gonna be there to sort of keep his peace. But when the woman start cheating on her own man at their own house, hey, you gonna make the man move out. You gonna make the man depart from his house. So that's why the Lord departed from the temple. And let's read it again. See thou what they do, even to the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far from my sanctuary. Yeah, so the Lord went far from the sanctuary because we was cheating on the Lord, doing spiritual fornication and idol worship in the temple, in the Lord's house. But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. And he said unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold, the wicked abominations that they do there. So this like the Lord showing one of his servants all the abominations that his wife did in the house. Like, if a man take his friend around the house, like, yeah, she did this in here, she did this. You see semen on the wall here, condoms under here in this room, toys over here, lube over there. That's all the idol worship that they was doing in the temple. So that's what the Lord was showing Ezekiel. All the stuff that our people did in the temple with these other gods. And he said unto me, Go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do there, that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. So yeah, you go in your a room, your woman got pictures of all the men that she done messed with all over the wall. All the men, all the teenagers, everything. She done messed with everything. She got the evidence of it on the wall. She got letters, pictures, all kind of stuff. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. And in the midst of them stood Jaazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chamber of his imagery. For they say, Yahweh Bashem Yahawadah seeth us not. The Lord hath forsaken the earth. So this is like a cheating woman. She be doing her thing. She be like, oh, my husband don't see. Oh, he don't even care no more. Hey, just because he not saying nothing or acting don't mean he don't care. Same with the Lord. Hey, just because we don't think he see or he's not judging us right away, hey, don't mean that the Lord not going to judge us. Don't mean that we still not provoking him to anger. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. So this the Lord said to him, hey, I got even worse stuff to show you. I got greater abominations to show you. So, like a man taking his partner around the house, and you're like, man, guess what she did here? It's even worse what she did over here. I'm taking to the garage. It's even worse what she did over here. So that's what the Lord is doing to Ezekiel. Like, I got greater abominations to show you. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there said women weeping for Tammuz. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than thee. So he had the women weeping over a false god. So that's like your woman, she cheating on you, but she crying over another man. Just all out of order, all out of whack. Ain't got no shame. And he brought me to the door, and he brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. See, more idol worship. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? So that's the Lord asking Ezekiel, is this a light thing to y'all? Am I supposed to just let this slide? Like a man may say to his friend about his cheating wife. Like, do she think this a joke? Like, she think this something small? I'm supposed to just let it slide? That's what the Lord's saying. For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. What does that mean when the Lord says they put the branch to their nose? That's the Lord saying, you giving me a reason to beat you. That's like a parent telling their child, man, you just put the paddle to your butt. Or you might as well put the paddle to your butt. You asking for it. Therefore, will I also deal in fury? Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet I will not hear them. Yeah, because why is the Lord not going to hear us? His main thing is going to be, go cry to those other guys that you worship. That's like when a cheating woman get in trouble and she doing bad, she go back to her husband. Husband don't want to hear it. Don't say go cry to the mother man that you was cheating with. So that's why the Lord don't hear our prayers. Even now, people say it's like the Lord not listening. Well, first of all, because you praying to Jesus and Jehovah, you praying to a white image. You gotta imagine the Lord's true image when you pray to Him. Then you gotta use the correct name. So praying to Jesus and Jehovah and God, that's like a woman calling her husband another man's name over and over and over and over again. Like she don't care. And our people don't even care to use the correct name. They feel like they can call them whatever. Well, every time you say Jesus and Jehovah and God, that's idol worship. You falling deeper and deeper into sin. That's idol worship. That's spiritual fornication. That's what we here in America for now. So yeah, using God, Jesus, Jehovah, Yeshua, Ahaya, hey, that's idol worship. You cheating on the Lord. Therefore, well, I also, okay, so yeah. So like we said, we at the halfway point of the Lord's judgment. Because up until this point, the past 400 or 500 years, the curses of Deuteronomy, we done suffered a lot of death, but our numbers are still increasing as a people. So we still have more people being born than more people dying. But the other half of the Lord's wrath, Him pleading with us, making His point known, the Lord is not going to have no mercy. Because the curses of Deuteronomy, for the last 400 or 500 years, the Lord has mercy on us. That's why our numbers not falling as a people. But through Jacob's trouble, which is the second half of the Lord's judgment, on the nation of Israel, the Lord's not going to have no mercy. Now let's read this again. Therefore, will I also deal in my fury? My eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. So for the last 400 or 500 years, the Lord has been sparing us. He's been having pity on us. That's why we not wiped out as a people. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet I will not hear. So that's why we're gonna jump in Ezekiel 9, then we're gonna hit First Peter, then Jeremiah, then back to Ezekiel 9. So in Ezekiel 9, this is the build up to Jacob's trouble, which we're gonna get in a minute. But Ezekiel 8, the Lord showed us the abominations that we did all over the earth and that we did in the actual temple, the sanctuary of the Lord. So Ezekiel 9 verse 1. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice. And again, this is the build-up of Jacob's trouble. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the upper gate, of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with the writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. So the Lord called 6 men. 5 of them had a 5 of them had a destroying weapon, had a slaughter weapon. And these 6 men are actually angels. Angels are men. Overpowered, superpowered, perfect men of the Lord. So 5 of them had a slaughtering weapon, and 1 of them had a writer's inkhorn. It's pretty much the ancient version of an ink pen. Now let's see what happened. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with the linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. So the Lord called to the angel that had the ink pen. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the man that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Remember, the Lord showed Ezekiel all the abominations that was done in Jerusalem, that was done in the temple, that we did outside of Jerusalem. But the Lord told the angel with the ink pen to set a mark on the foreheads of the people that cry out over these abominations that our people did, that cry out over the wickedness that our people did. So those people that cry out, they didn't partake in that wickedness or partake in those abominations. So the Lord is trying to mark them in. And that's what's going on now right here in America. The Lord is marking the foreheads of the believers. And the believers will be the people who cry out over the wickedness that's done here in America, over the wickedness that our people do, over the abominations that our people partake in. Because upon coming in this truth, we stop partaking in that stuff the best we could. So again, the Lord told the angel to mark the people who cry out over the abominations that the Lord just showed Ezekiel. Now let's continue. So yeah, the Lord is marking us now, just like the Lord marked these men that cry out over the abominations. That's how we know Ezekiel 9, that's going into Jacob's trouble, which is the second half of the Lord's judgment. So again, everything that we suffered over the 400 or 500 years, we're going to get all of it all over again at once in just a matter of a couple weeks. But we're going to switch books real quick. We're about to hit First Peter, I think 4 and 17. So First Peter 4 and 17. Because what we're about to read is the time we're approaching now. So let's get it. For the time is come, and that's now. The time is come. Where are we at in Ezekiel 9? The Lord is marking the heads of the people that cry out over the abominations. So that's the time that we talked about. The time is now. That judgment must begin at the house of God. Where was we just at in Ezekiel, the 8th chapter? We was in the house of God. We was in the temple. We was in the sanctuary. So let's read it again. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God, at the sanctuary, at the temple. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? So this is judgment to our people. So it said judgment must first start at the house of God. Who is the house of God? It's the house of Israel, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So judgment is going to begin with us. So this great tribulation, the first part, is going to be our judgment, and that's Jacob's trouble. Because we're going to get judgment first, then the Lord is going to judge the other nations. But the Lord is going to start with his people first. So again, the Lord repays double. So everything we suffered over this 400 or 500 years is not enough in the sight of the Lord. Then once you really realize what we did, no, we haven't suffered enough as a people. Because look at our people, they still doing the same stuff. They stupid, pretty much. And it's going to take a lot more worse stuff to get their attention. That's Jacob's trouble. I'm sorry, I got to make sure this is recording. So, let me get this again. So, yeah, what we suffered for the past 400, 500 years ain't enough. The Lord got more to prove to us. He got to continue making this point. Right now, he got even with us. But, you know, when you make a point, you got to go the extra step. So the Lord about to go the extra step in his judgment. And that's Jacob's trouble. So I'm going to read this again, and then we're going to hit Jeremiah. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God, at the house of Israel. Judgment must begin with the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And if it first begin at us, what should be the end of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? So that's those in this truth. Hey, those who know this truth, who somewhat obey, who lukewarm in this truth, they keep putting it off to the side. They keep putting the Lord behind them. Hey, judgment gonna begin with us, but what's gonna be the end of those that don't know this truth, that don't know this gospel, that despise it, that turned their nose at it, that said to hell with that, we don't believe it. That's talking about our people, the Negroes who totally disregard this. All right, so for the time has come that judgment must first begin at the house of God, at the house of Israel. And if it begin first at us, what should be the end of them that obey not the gospel? So yeah, for the time has come that judgment is going to begin. Because what did we just say at the end of Ezekiel 8? The Lord said he's going to act in his fury, neither would his eye spare, and neither will he have any pity. Because for the past 400, 500 years, like I said, the Lord has been merciful toward us. That's why our population is growing over time. But with Jacob's trouble, the opposite is going to happen. The Lord is going to kill us off faster than we can reproduce. So our numbers are going to drop rather than increase like they've been increasing. That's the Lord not having mercy. Which up until this point, regardless of how people feel, regardless of slavery, regardless of our oppression, the Lord has been merciful. But the Lord's mercy is going to stop. Now let me get the book of Jeremiah. We already in Jeremiah right there, but gonna get 30 and 7. Because what did we just read? For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of the Lord. That's why Jeremiah 30 and 7 reads, Alas, for that day is great. What day is great? The day that judgment begins at the house of the Lord. So alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. So our judgment, the second half of our judgment, no day is like it. That's why we said we got more in front of us than we've been through already. So everything that we suffered over the 400 or 500 years can't compare to the second half of our judgment. It can't compare to Jacob's trouble, which is the time that we're coming into. That's why 1 Peter 4:17, the Lord said the time has come. That now judgment is really going to begin. And it must start at the house of Yahawadah, which will be the house of Israel. And let's continue 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. So Jacob's trouble, that's the house of God, the house of Israel. So when the Lord said that judgment must begin at the house of God, it's like saying it must begin at the house of Israel, at the house of Jacob. So Jacob's trouble is it's the second half of our judgment. It's the half of our judgment where the Lord is not going to show any mercy, where his eye is not going to spare, where he's not going to have any pity. So again, Allah's for that day is great, so that none is like it. Nothing that we've been through in the past 500 years is going to be like this day. The day that the Lord's true judgment starts with the house of Jacob, the house of Israel. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And who's going to be saved out of it? Well, we got the answer for that back to Ezekiel 9. Let's see who's going to be saved out of this Jacob's trouble. Let's see who's going to be saved out the second part of the Lord's judgment. It will be the people who the Lord set the mark upon their head. And that's why when we go through, we're going to start at Ezekiel 9:5 again. We're going to start at 4 again. So those who are going to be saved out of it would be the man who sighed and cried over the abominations. That's what's going on now. So the people who's going to make it out of Jacob's trouble is going to be people who sighing and crying over this oppression, over this system, over the stuff that our people doing, which ultimately is not listening to the Lord and turning back to him. The people who's going to be saved out of the judgment is going to be the people that the Lord marks with his stamp in their foreheads. And let me read it again. The Lord sent it to him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, through all America and all the world, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the man that sighed and cried for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So the people who complaining against this stuff, those are going to be the people who be saved out of Jacob's trouble. They're going to be the only few people that the Lord have mercy on. And to the others who don't sigh and cry over the abominations, the people who don't complain against this place, the people who's not listening to the Lord, the people who don't have the Lord's stamp in their forehead. And to the others, he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city, throughout America and throughout all the world, and smite means to destroy, to kill, to put to death. Go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare. So the Lord's eye is not going to spare anybody in Jacob's trouble. Neither have ye pity. So nobody's going to escape the Lord's judgment. But let me read this again. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have pity. And the Lord's going to give them more death. Verse 6, slay. Slay means to destroy, to kill, to murder, to put to death. Let me get close so we can hear this. Slay, utterly, meaning completely destroy, to completely kill off. Old and young. So again, slay utterly, old and young, both maids and little children. So maids, that would be older women, and little children. Children can be toddlers, babies, 7, 8-year-olds. The Lord said, don't spare nor have pity. And it says women, that would be young women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. So slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near anyone upon whom is the mark. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark. So if you ain't got the mark, if you ain't got the Lord's stamp in your forehead, You're not going to make it out of this. The Lord is going to kill everybody who doesn't have this mark. Has the Lord killed everybody yet? No, because we got the people who's turning back to the Lord, that's in his truth, but we still see our people who disregard this truth, who still living according to the ways of America. So we know that this hasn't taken place yet. So this shows that the Lord is still had mercy on us. But when the Lord stops having mercy, he's going to kill everybody who don't have this truth. And that would be Jacob's trouble. That's why it says, Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even a time of Jacob's trouble, but he should be saved out of it. Yeah. So only those people who have this truth is going to be marked in their foreheads with the stamp of the Lord that's going to be preserved through the second part of the Lord's judgment. The Lord is not going to miss anybody or skip over anybody or pass over anybody who ain't got that mark, which would be the true names of the Lord ingrained in their minds and who know this truth, who got knowledge of how the Lord works. And we know this ain't taking place yet. Hey, because you got people like us who know this truth, and then you got these niggas that's out here still being niggas, still going after the ways of the white man, living their American lifestyle. But after the Lord's judgment with Jacob's trouble, you're not going to see any of those people no more. So all the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that's not in this truth, in the second half of the Lord's judgment, hey, the Lord's going to completely kill all them off. That's why he said, slay utterly. Utterly means complete, completely destroy, completely kill, old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin in my sanctuary. Hey, so the Lord going to begin judgment at the sanctuary. That's going to be those that's in his truth. Those of us that's in his truth, will be lukewarm, we half-assing in the truth. We not in the truth all the way. We like some of it, but some of the truth we don't like. That's what the Lord's going to deal with first. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth, and they went forth and slew in the city. So this is Jacob's trouble. It's mainly here in America, which is Jerusalem, Babylon. It's all the old ancient cities wrapped in one. That's why America is so diverse. But there's going to be no escaping. So let me read this again. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth, and they went forth and slew in the city, slew in America. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, while people was getting put to death in judgment, I was left, that I fell upon my face. So Ezekiel fell upon his face, and cried and said, Ah, Lord Yahweh, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel, and pouring thy fury upon Jerusalem? So again, Lord Yahweh, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel, and die pouring out thy fury upon Jerusalem? So, hey, then the Lord in Ezekiel 8, then the Lord in 1 Peter 4:17 say, the time has come that judgment must begin with the house of Israel, at the house of God. Then the Lord say at the end of Ezekiel 8, he's going to pour out his fury, his eyes not going to spare, neither have any pity. Then Jeremiah 30:7 say that day is great, so that none is like it. It is the time of Jacob's trouble. Hey, the Lord told Ezekiel, but still, and when we tell the people still don't get it. The Lord told Ezekiel, but Ezekiel still didn't get it, how urgent and horrible the Lord's judgment is, until he saw it with his own eyes in his vision. That's why he said, Lord Yahweh, will thou destroy all the residue of Israel? Yeah, because the Lord is going to destroy all of Israel who ain't got that mark, who ain't got this truth. And then he said unto me, The iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of bloodshed, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. So yeah, the Lord is gonna get all these people, because ultimately, if you're not in this truth, it's because of your unbelief. It's because of your lack of faith. So the Lord also said that the unfaithful will die in their unfaithfulness. But yeah, and the Lord, and when the Lord, and when Ezekiel asked the Lord, "Is you gonna kill all the residue of Israel?" And then the Lord said, "The iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great." And the Lord said, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill all the residue of Israel because their iniquity is great." And what does He say after? As for me, also, my eyes shall not spare, neither would I have pity. Because the Lord telling, I told you already in Ezekiel 8, I'm telling you again, my eye not going to spare, neither am I going to have pity. Jeremiah 30:7, that day is great so that none is like it. What is that great day that none is like it? It's the day that judgment begins at the house of the Lord. So again, and as for me, my eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side. So remember, the Lord called 6 angels. One of them had an inkhorn, and he went and marked the people that would be saved out of Jacob's trouble. He marked the people who sighed and cried over the abominations that's done in the world and by our people. The Lord marked him, but remember that man. Let's continue the verse. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou commanded me. So yeah, after Ezekiel got done having the vision, the angel with the writer's inkhorn returned back to the Lord, and he said, I've done as you commanded me. Meaning he went and marked everybody that would be saved out of Jacob's trouble. He went and marked everybody that would receive salvation. He marked everybody that turned from wickedness and turned back to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. And this angel with the writer's inkhorn is making his last few rounds, getting the last few believers. He about to return back to the Lord right now. This Ezekiel 9, before the bloodshed, is going on right now. That angel with the writer's inkhorn is getting his last few believers, the last few people who sigh and cry over these abominations in the earth. So anybody that's half-assing in this truth, woe to you. You're going to wish you had it. Yeah, so anybody that's BSing, keep putting off the Lord, keep putting the truth behind them, not seeking them, saying, I'm going to do it later, I'm going to do it tomorrow. You're going to get caught in judgment if you ain't changed and turn back to the Lord wholeheartedly if you ain't did it by the time this angel with the inkhorn return back to the Lord. And what is he going to say? I have done as thou commanded me. And what did the Lord command them? Go through the midst of the city, go through the world, set a mark on the foreheads of those that sigh and cry over the abominations that are done in the earth. The angel is almost on his way back to the Lord, if he's not on his way already. And to put it in perspective, hey, it may only be like 50 more believers out here that this angel has to mark. 50, not a lot of people. The angel could do that today if he wanted. The angel could have all these 50 people marked in like 5 days if he wanted to. That stuff is even 50. It might just be 5 more believers that the Lord has to mark. But we're going to know when this angel has to return back to the Lord, because the Lord is going to pull this truth back. And this truth is a warning. And how is the Lord going to pull the truth back? It's going to be the cyber attack. And when that cyber attack happens, there's going to be no internet, no Wi-Fi, no computers, no hearing these lessons, no searching scriptures on Google, no searching for us in the YouTube. There's going to be no phones. So those of us who got this truth, you're not going to be able to call us or text us or reach out to us to get some understanding on the scriptures. So when the cyber attack happens, that's the Lord putting the truth back. That signifies that this angel with the writer's inkhorn has returned back to the Lord, because he's marked all those people who's going to receive salvation, who's going to be saved out of Jacob's trouble, because they sigh and cry over this place, meaning they detach themselves from America. If you ain't sighing and crying over this place, if you still attached to America, you're going to be caught in this bloodshed. And how do you know if you're still attached to America? If you put your life in America before the Lord, if you're still building on this, building on that, going to school, putting your school before the Lord, working overtime, working 2 and 3 jobs, putting that before the Lord, that means you're still attached to this place. So everybody who's attached to this place, putting the Lord off, they're going to be caught in this bloodshed. It is Jacob's trouble in the second half of the Lord's judgment against the house of Israel. And the Lord's not going to have pity, because our population is going to drop. That's why Zechariah 13:8 tells you that 2/3 of our people is going to be cut off. 2/3 is 66.6. So 66.6 of our people is going to be cut off in judgment for not seeking the Lord. And that also goes into Zephaniah, I believe, the 1st chapter. All right, that's it for this lesson here. Till next time, Shalom. Hey, yo, I ended it too quick. So yeah, y'all gonna be caught up in Jacob's trouble. Y'all gonna be caught in the massive bloodshed of the Lord's wrath. And that ain't the end. Because if the Lord don't kill you in Jacob's trouble, but you're not found worthy to be marked with the stamp of the Lord is reserving you for the missiles. So you don't want to be caught in Jacob's trouble or caught by these nuclear missiles when Russia and all these other countries shoot it off at America. The missiles is going to be the completion of the Lord's wrath. So the second half, we got Jacob's trouble, but the top off Jacob's trouble is going to be the missiles. And that's ultimately what the Lord is marking us for in our foreheads. It's to be saved through Jacob's trouble, but even if you get through Jacob's trouble, hey, you still here in America when these missiles about to be shot off. So the Lord marking us, stamping us in our foreheads, is to be saved out of Jacob's trouble, but it's to ultimately to not be destroyed by these nuclear missiles. Anybody half-assing, you're either going to be killed in Jacob's trouble, a horrible, painful, bloody death, or you're going to be killed by the nuclear missiles. So the next time, Shalom.